Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of The Source. We followed up Tuesday night's monster. We had a monster day Tuesday night in case you missed it. We followed it up with another winning day. 6-5 plus 0.85 units. I will take that 7 days a week, which brings us to just under about 4.5 units in the last 2 days. So let's keep the positivity rolling. Thursday, not the best baseball day betting wise, but there are 12 games on the board. So let's dive in.
Welcome to The Source. The Source. Hey, get the Source.
First up, Padres at Pirates. Joe Musgrove pitching against Luis Ortiz. San Diego opens up as minus 150 favorites. Total opens up at 9. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. And according to the model, we're looking at 3-1 Padres after 5 innings. Final score 6-3 Padres. Well, it's Joe Musgrove day, which means we might have to just auto bet San Diego at this point. In case you haven't been following the Padres, Joe Musgrove started the season on the injured list. Came back and looked shaky in his first few starts back from injury, but this man is on one right now. In his last 6 starts, Musgrove is 5-0 with a 1.98 ERA and a 1.05 WHIP and a 2.62 FIP. He's been one of the most dominant starting pitchers in baseball over the last month. And I don't see his reign of terror stopping here in Pittsburgh. Here are the Pirates' numbers against right-handed pitching in the last 14 days. No shocker here. Dead last in every single offensive category. Just a 5.07 team OPS against right-handed pitching in the last 14 days. So obviously I like Joe Musgrove the deal. I'm just going to disregard what I saw from the Pirates lineup in the last 2 days. One was against a spot starter for San Diego who wasn't even supposed to be pitching. The other one was against Blake Snell. And they didn't really get to Snell like that. Also, Blake Snell's a lefty, so anyway, I like Joe Musgrove the deal here. On the other side, we got Luis Ortiz on the mound, and I honestly have no idea what to make of this dude. So if you remember, about a week ago, before his start against the Marlins in Miami, I said, look at Luis Ortiz's FIP numbers. This dude is crazy ready for some negative regression. That night, he went into Miami and pitched an absolute gem. 8 innings, 1 earned run. Now, I'm not going to go nuts over a great start against the Marlins. Miami doesn't really hit right-handed pitching that well. But still, it was on the road where we've had questions about Luis Ortiz, and he absolutely delivered in a big way. So like I said, I really don't know what to make of Ortiz right now. Keep in mind, he's only 24 years old, so maybe this is him figuring it out. Who knows? I will say I'm also really not sure about the Padres lineup right now against right-handed pitching. If you look at the numbers, yeah, San Diego's top half of the league in pretty much every offensive category against right-handed pitching in the last 14 days, but they really haven't seen many righty starters recently. They've been matched up against a lot of lefties. Look at the last 4 righties to pitch against the Padres. You got Josiah Gray, 5 1/3 shutout innings. Before that was, I don't even know how to say this dude's name. He was the primary pitcher for the Giants, Sean Hagel. I don't know how to pronounce it, but he was the primary pitcher, 4 shutout innings against the Padres. Before that, they did get to DeSclafani, 5 innings, 3 earned runs, so they didn't even crush him, but they got to him, 8 hits. And before that was another primary pitcher for the Giants, Keaton Wynn, 5 innings, just 3 hits and 1 run. So I don't know if I trust this Padres lineup against righties. It seems like they're starting to slump against righties. We've seen them do this earlier in the year. So I think the best angle for this one is just to go under. I'm calling a bluff on the Pirates bats. I like Musgrove. Probably go first 5 under here. The line's not open yet, so I'll let you know on the live show at 11 a.m. Next game. Tigers at Rangers. I need this series to end, man. I haven't placed a single bet on this series. I keep passing. Reese Olson is pitching against John Gray. Texas opens up as minus 240 favorites, big favorite. Total opens up at 9. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. We got a lean on the under and a slight lean on Texas. 1-1 after 5 innings. Final score 4-2 Rangers. Like I just said, I really don't want anything to do with this series. I think the Rangers are a bit overpriced here, but I will not bet the Tigers in this spot. I'll say Rangers are past, just like I said yesterday. Maybe I'll have a bet on the live show at 11 a.m., but most likely just going to skip it. Next game. Cleveland at Kansas City. Shane Bieber pitching against Zach Greinke. Cleveland opens up as minus 165 favorites. Total opens up at 8.5. Take a quick look at the spreadsheet, and actually just a slight lean on Cleveland here. 3-2 Guardians after 5 innings. Final score 5-4 Guardians. So let's start out by taking a look at Zach Greinke's last 10 starts. If you notice, the first chunk of this chart looks great. FIP and ERA numbers chilling down by 4 or even lower. But look at his last 4 starts. My God, Zach Greinke's been getting absolutely shelled. Here are the numbers specifically from those last 4 starts. He's 0-3 with an ERA up at 9, 5.68 FIP. I'm afraid the wheels have fallen off for Zach Greinke. I know seeing Cleveland's offense struggle against Brady Singer was a bit concerning, but here are the last 4 righty starters to pitch against Cleveland, and you can see right on top, Brady Singer, 6 innings, no earned runs. He pitched great. But look at the 3 before that. 4 runs off Corbin Burns, 3 runs off Freddie Peralta, 4 runs off Paul Blackburn. So I'm not going to bail on this Cleveland Guardians offense yet. I mean, they just scored like 14 runs last night. Like I said, Shane Bieber's pitching for Cleveland, and obviously you got to be worried about backing Bieber on the road. Here is home away splits on the season, or they're not completely terrible. 2.51 ERA jumps up to a 4.58. You can see the home runs per 9 and the FIP numbers also jump a bit on the road. But we got some good news for Shane Bieber, because I don't know if the long ball is going to be an issue when you're talking about the Kansas City Royals. Against right-handed pitching in the last 14 days, KC is dead last in isolated power. They're also just 23rd in OPS, 24th in WRC plus against righties. Some more good news for Shane Bieber. He absolutely owns this Kansas City team. Here are his numbers against the Royals in his last 8 starts dating back to 2020. A 1.60 ERA, a 1.02 whip, and a 2.33 FIP. He's really been dominant against the Royals, and 5 of those 8 starts were on the road in Kansas City. I'm not going to waste any more time talking about this game. I'm going back to Cleveland without a doubt. I bet Cleveland in the first 2 games of this series, down to lay the 1.5. Give me Cleveland minus 1.5 next game. Yankees at A's out in Oakland. Clark Schmidt. It's Schmitty day. Schmitty day in Oakland. Pitching against James Kapp. No line open for this one. No total open for this one either at the time of recording this, around 11:30 p.m. Eastern time. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, we got a tie 2-2 after 5 innings. Final score 4-3 Yankees. So I'm going to skip this one. There's no line open. And someone asked me about this. It's not that I can't handicap the game without a line open. Of course I can. It's normally when they are late to open the line, that means there's some question marks as far as who's pitching. And when it comes to recording these videos and editing them, there's nothing worse than putting in work and making this whole video, recording, putting the research, making the graphics, and then right before you upload, the picture change, and it's all worth nothing. So I'd rather just wait on it. I'll give out a bet for this one on the live show tomorrow at 11 a.m. next game. Tampa at Arizona, another game with some question marks as far as who's pitching. It's listed as that guy Chirinos for Tampa Bay, but we'll see. He's one of those guys that whenever they list him, you never know if he's actually going to start. Brandon Pfaadt back in the rotation for Arizona. No line, no total as of yet. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, we got 5-3 Rays after 5 innings. Final score 6-5 Rays. Same deal as the Yanks A's. I'm going to skip this one for now. I might have a bet for it on the live show tomorrow at 11 a.m. next game. White Sox at Angels. Lance Lynn pitching against Patrick Sandoval. Angels open up as minus 120 favorites. Total opens up at 8.5. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. We got to lean on LA here. 4-2 Angels after 5 innings. Final score 6-4 Angels. So Patrick Sandoval is pitching, like I said, and he's been having a really rough stretch here as far as his recent home starts go. Since May 1st, he's made 4 starts at home, and all 4 have been bad. In those starts, he's 0-3 with a 5.73 ERA and a 1.64 whip. Not very inspiring numbers here. Good news for Sandoval, though. The White Sox have seen a lot of left-handed pitching recently, and they're not showing any signs of life. In the last 14 days, they're 24th in OPS, 24th in WRC+. Here are the last 4 lefty starters to pitch against the White Sox. As you can see, they're just not hitting them. Reed Detmers, James Paxton, Andrew Heaney, and Martin Perez. These guys all pitched against the White Sox within the last 9 days. They combined for 23 2/3 innings and just 6 total earned runs allowed in all 4 of those starts. In my opinion, this is the absolute perfect spot for Sandoval to get back on his feet and grab himself a much-needed quality start at home. Good old Lance is on the mound for Chicago, and I don't know what numbers to even put up for Lynn. I mean, here are his home-away splits. I mean, I guess he's a bit better on the road, but if you look at the FIP numbers, just a 5.07 to a 4.68, really not much of a jump there. Here are the righty starters that have pitched against the Angels in the last 2 weeks. Other than Dylan Cease, really none of them were able to record outs consistently against this team. Angels lineup has been hitting righties well all season. By the way, I made this graphic before last night's game ended. If you're wondering why Giolito isn't on that list, that's why. Really just not many positives for Lance Lynn here. I mean, I guess you could take a look at Lance Lynn's numbers in his last 5 starts against the Angels dating back to 2020, because they're really not that bad. But they're really not good either. And also, this Angels lineup is producing at a much higher level than any Angels lineup that we've seen in the last 3 years. So, I mean, and the numbers aren't even good anyway, so there's really nothing there. I think this game is priced correctly. The Angels are up to over minus 150. I think Angels in the first 5 minus a half run is a must bet here. There's a reason it's being priced up at minus 120. That's probably what I'm going to end up doing here. Angels first 5 minus the half run. Next game. Marlins at Red Sox. Jesus Luzardo pitching against Brian Bayo. Boston opens up as very slight favorites here, minus 125. Total opens up at 9.5. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, we got a slight lean on Boston here. 3-2 Sox after 5 innings. Final score 6-4 Red Sox. So like I said, Luzardo's pitching, and this guy's been a mystery to handicap so far this season, especially on the road. As you can see on these charts, there's just a ton of volatility here. Throwing gems one day, getting shelled the next. Really tough to keep track of this guy and find any sort of pattern. Overall, his road numbers are pretty poor with a 5.45 ERA, 3.83 WOBA, 151 whip. Definitely hasn't been that reliable on the road, but to be fair to Luzardo, a 4.44 FIP and a 3.65 expected FIP indicates there's some positive regression coming from him. He now pitches against a Red Sox lineup that looks like it's entering a bit of a slump against left-handed pitching, including Braxton Garrett. The last 5 lefties to face Boston own a combined 25 2/3 innings pitched, 2.45 ERA, 116 whip. So even though I don't have a ton of faith in Luzardo making a road start, I think the current state of the Red Sox lineup gives me a little bit of hope that he could pitch a decent game here. On the other side, though, it's Bayo Day, and in case you haven't been following this kid, he is turning into a monster. He just continues to cruise. Over his last 8 starts, he's got a 2.40 ERA, 3.34 FIP. He has truly been dealing, and I still don't trust this Marlins lineup against right-handed pitching. Sure, they did absolutely crush Garrett Whitlock last night, but look at the previous 4 right-handed starters to pitch against the Marlins. We just looked at this yesterday. The Pirates threw 4 straight righties at the Marlins, and all 4 pitched good games. I think this is a very favorable spot for Bayo. Look, I'm not going to argue that Boston's playing better baseball than Miami right now. They're not. But spot-wise, I kind of like it for the Red Sox. Marlins just took the first 2 games of this series comfortably in Fenway Park. They got a huge series against the Atlanta Braves starting in Atlanta. That starts tomorrow. It's getaway day. Boston's got Bayo on the mound. I just think the Red Sox need this game a lot more than the Marlins will. So I'm going to play the Bo Sox here. Give me Boston money line. Next game. Giants at Blue Jays. Ryan Walker pitching against Chris Bassett. And you know, whenever you see Ryan Walker as a starting pitcher, you know there's going to be a primary pitcher that comes in the second. We don't know who that is. As a result, we have no lines, no total, nothing for this game. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. We got to lean on the Giants 3-2 after 5-4 final, but we don't know who the primary pitcher is again, so you can just toss that out. I'm skipping this one. Need to know who the primary pitcher is going to be for San Francisco before we handicap it, so I'll have a bet for this one on the live show tomorrow at 11 a.m. Next game. Brewers at Mets. Adrian Hauser pitching against Max Scherzer. Mets open up as heavy favorites here, minus 225. Total opens up at 8.5. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. We definitely got to lean on the Mets here. 3-1 Mets after 5 innings. Final score 5-3 Mets. So I hate the price here, but I do really like the spot for Max Scherzer. He got rocked by the Yankees and Braves in back-to-back starts, but then he bounced back and pitched great in Philadelphia, and then pitched great against the Houston Astros as well. In those 2 starts, he combined for 14 innings of work, just 3 runs and 16 strikeouts. And I like him to continue that dominance here after he was embarrassed by Milwaukee earlier in the season. Through just 5 1/3 innings, he allowed 8 hits, 5 runs, and 3 homers to this Brewers team. Scherzer's a bit of a head case at times, and he definitely wants his revenge, especially against the Milwaukee team that he has owned. Before that last start earlier in the season, the 6 matchups before that, 1.54 ERA, an 0.77 whip, and a 35% strikeout rate. So he has owned the Brewers, and then they hit him up in the last start. I think he wants his revenge. And while it looks like the Brewers bats might be waking up a little, the numbers are still alarming. On the last 14 days against right-handed pitching, we're talking about 28th in WRC+, 20th in isolated power, 27th in WOBA. On the other side, we got Adrian Hauser, and good luck trying to figure this guy out. As you can see on the chart, there's through 7 starts. This guy has either dominated or gotten absolutely rocked. One thing he consistently struggles with, though, left-handed bats. His numbers against lefties are not good. A 168 whip, a 580 expected FIP. The Mets regularly start 5 left-handed bats. Not ideal for Adrian Hauser. And if you look deeper, it gets even worse for Hauser. His main pitch is the sinker, which he throws just under 50% of the time. Against sinkers from right-handed pitching over the last 30 days, the Mets are 4th in WOBA and 1st in isolated power. The Mets have been crushing sinkers from righty. So that's not a good sign for Adrian Hauser. And if you look even further, it gets even worse for Adrian Hauser. In his only start at Citi Field last year, he got crushed. 4 2/3 innings, 8 hits, 4 runs. Now here's where it gets a little tricky because the Brewers bullpen seems to be waking up. Over the last 2 weeks, they've outproduced the Mets bullpen by a mile. Somehow, Milwaukee's bullpen sitting at second in ERA, which is surprising. But this is in the last 14 days. Mets during that span, 20th in ERA, 21st in WOBA, 30th in FIP. So Brewers bullpen definitely been pitching a lot better than the Mets bullpen. But personally, I think Max Scherzer is going to go pretty deep into the game, and I think the Mets win. But at this price, I don't know how much value there is on it. So I guess I'll say Mets or pass for now. Maybe use the Mets money line in a parlay or something. To be honest, I'm just going to pass for now because I really want to see what the line does in the morning. I'll let you know what I decide on the live show. Next game. Astros at Cardinals. JP France pitching against Adam Fade Right, we should call him. This line opens up as a pick'em, -110 across the board. Total opens up at 10. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. We got a huge lead on Houston here. 5-2 Astros after 5 innings. Final score 7-4 Astros. I'm just going to put it bluntly. Wainwright has looked awful this season. Through 9 starts, he's got a 6.56 ERA, a 5.62 expected FIP, 182 whip. These are straight up bad numbers. It's not like, oh, he's going through a bit of a slump. No, these are bad. The only positive spot I could see for Wainwright here is he's got significantly better numbers against right-handed bats. As you can see on this graphic, I mean, his numbers against left-handed bats are an absolute nightmare. 483 WOBA. But against right-handed bats, the numbers are a little more respectable. They're still not good, but a 344 WOBA, 148 whip, a 433 FIP. That's at least serviceable. And that's huge in this matchup because the Astros are extremely righty-heavy lineup. They regularly start 8 right-handed bats. But the thing is, how much does that really matter? Because like I said yesterday, Houston's bats are waking up against righties. Over the last 10 days, they're 10th in WRC+, 6th in isolated power, 9th in OPS. I mean, this is back to being a top 10 lineup against right-handed pitching. That's exactly why we took Houston yesterday against Michaelis. The last 5 righty starters to pitch against Houston combined for a 7.39 ERA, 2.2 home runs per 9, and a 164 whip. And I made this graphic before the game tonight ended. So now that you can add Michaelis to it, that ERA is going to be even higher because they just rocked Michaelis. I don't think there's anything that points to Wainwright pitching a good game here. On the other side, we got JP France, and his numbers look good. I mean, he's got a 240 ERA, 290 WOBA, 402 FIP. He's got good-looking numbers on the road. His FIP suggests there might be a bit of regression coming, but to be honest, I don't like the spot for him because I think these Cards bats are heating up. Over the last 30 days against JP France's pitch mix, Cardinals are 5th in WOBA, 6th in run value. The last 8 righty starters to pitch against St. Louis, 37 innings pitched, 6.32 ERA, a 195 home run per 9, and a 151 whip. And that's excluding the Christian Javier start that just happened. So, I mean, they hit him up bad. So I think the Cards are going to hit off JP France. I don't care what his road numbers look like. But when we get to the bullpens, this is where St. Louis has the huge edge. Over the last 2 weeks, the Cardinals bullpen has really gotten hot. 5th in ERA, 4th in WOBA, 4th in expected FIP. Astros bullpen in that same time span, 28th in ERA, 26th in WOBA, 21st in expected FIP. So the Cards' huge edge in the bullpen department, which makes this one really difficult to bet because I want to fade Wainwright, but I imagine I'm going to wake up and see that everyone's fading Wainwright. And with the Cardinals' bullpen, depending on what this line does, might be a sharp spot to take the Cardinals. At this point, I'd lean either Astros first 5 or Cardinals full game. I know that doesn't give you much, but I really don't have a decision made yet. I will for the live show at 11 a.m. though. Next game. Phillies at Cubs. Cubs was one of my big losses last night. If it wasn't for the Cubs and Giants, I would have had an absolute savage night, but let's see what we got here. Phillies at Cubs. Taijuan Walker pitching against Kyle Hendricks. Phillies open up as -135 favorites. Total opens up at 9.5. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. We got a lean on Chicago here, slight lean. 2-1 Cubs after 5 innings. Final score 4-3 Cubs. So Taijuan Walker's been on an absolute killing spree in his last 4 starts. Through his first 12 starts, he was looking mediocre as shit. 5.65 ERA, 3.43 WOBA, 5.37 FIP. Wasn't looking like he was going to have his best year, but over his last 4 starts, he's been basically untouchable. An 0.69 ERA, 2.09 WOBA, a 0.3 home runs per 9, and a 2.56 whip. He's really been that good, and I can't take anything away from his recent success, but we do need to take note of who he's pitched against. The Tigers, the Dodgers, the A's, and the Mets. Those 4 teams over the last 30 days are 29th, 18th, 24th, and 21st in OPS against right-handed pitching. So he's had a bit of good luck as far as who he's pitched against. And now he's going to pitch against the Cubs, who he's got great history against. In his last 4 starts against the Cubs, he's got a 2.07 ERA and a 1.09 whip. The current Cubs lineup owns just a 234 batting average lifetime against them, 618 OPS, and has just 3 RBIs through 85 career plate appearances. So you got to fade the Cubs bats here, right? Well, hold up, because this Cubs team is just a bit different right now. They're rolling its right-handed pitching, which is kind of crazy to say, because if you remember, the Cubs lineup was so bad against righties as recent as about a month ago. But in the last 14 days, 6 in WRC+, 6 in OPS, 6 in WOBA. So this Cubs lineup is seeing right-handed pitching very well right now. On top of that, let's take a closer look at Taijuan Walker's last 4 starts. I previously mentioned he dominated, but I also mentioned that those 4 teams, none of them are hitting right-handed pitching well right now. 3 of his last 4 starts came at home, where we know historically Taijuan Walker is always better. His lone road start was at Oakland. In his previous 8 road starts before the Oakland start, 6.75 ERA, 1.7 home runs per 9, and a 5.72 FIP. So you understand how that might seriously impact Taijuan Walker's recent numbers. He's a bet-on pitcher at home and a fade pitcher on the road. Historically, 3 of his last 4 starts have been at home, and the only road start's been at Oakland. Before that, like we just said, he's been getting rocked on the road, so I think there's an angle to fade Taijuan Walker here, honestly. On the other side, we got Kyle Hendricks pitching, and after a rough debut to the season, he's looked excellent. Over his last 5 starts, he's rocking a 2.08 ERA, 2.20 WOBA, 3.62 FIP. Kyle Hendricks has been really good. And what intrigues me most about backing Hendricks in this spot are his splits against left-handed bats. In his last 5 starts, he's got a 182 WOBA against lefties, or I should say lefties have a 182 WOBA against him. A .74 whip, 341 FIP. He's pitched really well against left-handed bats, and the reason that's notable is the Phillies lineup regularly starts 5 lefties in it. And it's not like the Phillies bats have been setting the world on fire. Philadelphia's winning a lot of games. Let's give them some credit, but their numbers just don't blow you away. In the last 14 days, they are 26th in isolated power, 24th in WRC+, 23rd in WOBA. This is against right-handed pitching, so again, I think Kyle Hendricks should pitch a good game here. But the real X factor for me when it comes to betting this game is the bullpen battle, because the Cubs have the clear-cut advantage. Over the last 30 days, the Cubs bullpen, 6th in ERA, 7th in WOBA, 8th in FIP. Cubs bullpen has really found itself. The Phillies bullpen during that same time span, 16th in ERA, 19th in WOBA, 23rd in FIP. So add on that bullpen edge to the end of that. And I love the Cubs at plus money here. That being said, I loved them last night and they got killed. Well, they didn't get killed. They came back. I think they lost by 3. But I like them to get them revenge and avoid the sweep. Give me the Cubs money line next game. Dodgers at Rockies. Emmett Sheehan pitching against Chase Anderson. Dodgers obviously open up as huge favorites here, minus 220. Total opens up at a Coors Field standard, which is 12.5. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, we got 4-0 Dodgers after 5 innings. Final score 7-2 Dodgers. So Emmett Sheehan has looked excellent through his first 2 major league starts. Damn. It's really impressive because both of them were against tough opponents too, in the Astros and Giants. In those 2 starts, he's got a 150 ERA and 0.79 WOBA, or OBA, I'm sorry. So his opponents are batting 0.79 against him so far. He's allowed just 3 hits through his 2 starts. The concern of those 3 hits he allowed, 2 went for home runs, and he's heading to Coors Field. That being said, righties traveling to Coors Field haven't been giving up home runs. They own a combined just 0.3 home runs per 9. That's the last 7 righty starters to head to Coors Field and pitch. I would say, oh, that's because the ball isn't traveling out of Coors Field right now, but most likely it's because the Rockies just aren't hitting. They've cooled down in a big way. Sitting just 26th in WRC+, 20th in OPS, and 24th in average against right-handed pitching in the last 2 weeks. That being said, they did cash for me last night. That was a nice plus money cash. I don't know if we can count on a repeat performance here because Chase Anderson is on the bump, and this guy looks like a disgrace right now. I mean, this is the worst starting pitcher in baseball that's currently in a rotation. I'm dead ass serious. Over his last 4 starts, he's rocking a 12.91 ERA, 12.91. Listen to these numbers. They're just funny. 5.10 WOBA, a 4.7 home runs per 9, a 235 whip, and a 991 FIP. I don't care if the Dodgers lineup is slumping. They should score at least 19 or 20 runs off this dude based on these numbers. I'm looking at Prop Beaver's notes for this game, and he wrote, if the Dodgers can't hit Chase Anderson in his current form, they need to seek counsel. Anyway, when it gets to the bullpens, you might be surprised to hear that the Dodgers have the advantage. I know that sounds shocking based on what the Dodgers bullpen has done over the last few weeks, but if you just isolate it to the last 10 days, the Dodgers bullpen is really back. It's actually first in ERA with an 0.31, first in WOBA, third in FIP. So the Dodgers bullpen finally returning to form. In that same span, the last 10 days, the Rockies bullpen 30th in ERA at 8, 30th in WOBA, 27th in FIP. So I don't know exactly how I'm going to bet this. I got my Rockies cast last night, not going back, not touching the Rockies with a 10-foot stake in this one. Maybe Dodgers minus 1.5, maybe a pass, maybe Dodgers double result. I'm going to probably bet the Dodgers in some way here. Maybe a Dodgers team total over, honestly, even if it's at like 6.5, 7. I'll let you know on the live show. If anything changes in any of the bets I just mentioned in this video, I'll let you know on Twitter, so give me a follow there if you're interested. Like I've mentioned a few times, live stream, 11 a.m. We got me, Toast, and Jay Briggs from Pick Dogs. That'll be the lineup tomorrow morning. That's 11 a.m. Eastern time. We'll go through all the games on the board, cover the line movement, make our final decisions. If you're able to make it, we'd love to see you in the comments. Also, if you'd like the final tickets we put out, which has every bet I'm making, how much I'm betting on each, top bets, parlay of the day, that kind of stuff. And we're finally back. We've had 2 good days in a row. That's all located on KyleKirms.com. And also the private chat, our private VIP chat comes with that. So if you're interested in that, head over to KyleKirms.com. Thursday, not the best MLB day. Let's not overextend. Let's play it smart, pick our spots. Remember to bet responsibly, and I'll talk to you on Twitter.